Morning, everyone. I am Holly Martin. I'm the editor of High Plains Journal, and I'm excited to be here in Loveland, Colorado today. We have a beautiful day and a wonderful program for you all, and we hope you leave today with some additional information and feeling like the day was very worthwhile. The goal of today's event is really just all about education. And one of the things that we do at High Plains Journal is deliver news and educational stories to you each and every week. And we wanted to extend that beyond just the paper. And so we've started some of these events where we come to the people and we share and bring good speakers to you, and we're able to interact and have a good day of discussion and education and just learning more about what we do and learning about things that help us see the world. So we're very excited to have you here. One of the things that we like to do with these events is have, it's obviously a U event, which gives you the feeling that it's going to be a classroom event, and that is how we're going to do things today. We will start in here with a general session, and we'll have a farmer panel, and then break that into different classrooms, just like you were in at college. So we hope that you enjoy it as much as you enjoyed your college years. I don't know about that, but we'll try. The different sessions are all along this, they're all in this room. There's one straight across here, there's one across the hall that way, and then one clear down around across from the restrooms. And if you didn't find where the restrooms are, that's always an important thing to know. You go out this hallway and it's clear down around on the other end of the building. So we hope that we'll have people around giving you directions and all those things. The reason that we do the classroom format is really because this is about exchanging information. And we want you to feel comfortable asking questions. We want you to raise your hand and say, hey, what did you mean by that? I didn't understand that, or what about this? So all day long, make sure that you do that, because that's the only way that we're going to be able to have a good exchange of information and learn as much as we possibly can. The sessions this morning, there will be 2 time periods, but we have 3 different options. So this morning, you need to do a good job of checking which classes that you're going to be going to, and make sure that you get to the ones that you want to attend the most. This morning, there will be Improved Digestion and Quality by Joe Brummer, Feed Value Matters by Courtney Duxbury, Irrigating Alfalfa by Bruce Anderson. And then in the afternoon, we will have Agronomy of Alfalfa and Managing Salinity. So those 2 sessions will be this afternoon, and you will get to attend both of those. So in your packet there's a little program that you can kind of check things out on, and anybody from High Plains Journal or Alpharex would be happy to answer any questions. So if you see any of us, just wave us down and we can get you in the right place. One of the things I did want to mention is that if you missed it when you signed in and you need CEU credits, you can certainly do that. After the farmer panel session this morning, you can go back out and sign in and then sign out when you leave. Be sure to do that, or you won't be able to get credit. So if that's something you want to do that after on the break in between classes. All right. At this time, I would like to welcome Doug Bastian to the stage. Doug is with Alfalfa Seeds. Alfalfa Seeds has a rich heritage and a new perspective on alfalfa and forages. Alfalfa is more than a seed company. It's an accumulation of 100+ years of innovation and focus committed to alfalfa and forages. It's all they do. So please welcome him to the stage and help me welcome him.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Alfalfa U here in Loveland, Colorado. Like she said, my name is Doug Bastian. I'm the National Sales Manager for Alfalfa Seeds. And Alfalfa Seeds stands for Alfalfa and Forage Excellence. So we are owned by Dow AgroSciences, and one of the largest programs here in the U.S. And so our goal and objective is to be the #1 brand of, or #1 supplier of premium alfalfas throughout the country, both through our Alfalfa brand and through our Dairyland brand seed as well. So we look forward to being a part of this here this week, and we really look forward to having you have a better understanding of how to help improve the overall productivity of alfalfa on your farming operation. So as we go through today, please feel free to ask questions of us and our staff as well. And we look forward to being here and being a part of the program. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Doug. The booths for our sponsors are over here. We've got Dairyland Seed and Alfalfa over here, and then Pyramid Trailers is over here. So during the break times, you can come back in here. There'll be beverages and snacks back here in the back, and we should have plenty of time to be able to ask those sponsors questions, and we certainly appreciate their help and support today. At this time, we'd like to start with the farmer panel. So if the people that got their arms twisted and are going to be on the panel, if they could come forward, and I will read their bios as they all come forward. Dave Heineman grew up on a family ranch north of Mitchell, Nebraska. After high school, he attended Nebraska Western College, where he received an associate degree in science. Heineman moved from Wheatland, Wyoming in 1984 and started farming on his own, raising sugar beets, corn, beans, and alfalfa. Since that time, he has concentrated mainly on alfalfa production, selling to Colorado dairies and also Iowa. Currently, Heineman operates Hard Rock Farms, Inc., producing corn, alfalfa, and also has a cow-calf operation. Hinman, sorry. All right, I will make a note of that. All right, Brian England. Brian works for Aurora Organic Dairy as landsman manager. He oversees most aspects of the farming side of the operation for the Colorado and Texas locations. Aurora's main crops include pastures, alfalfa, and corn. He works with custom farmers for own land, as well as providing input at times to third-party growers. England grew up in southeast Colorado, helping the family farm and ranch. He attended Lamar Community College and then transferred to Colorado State University, where he graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Agriculture Business and Crop and Soil Science in 2011. Throughout college, England farmed 160 acres of family-owned farm ground and worked for local agronomists as a scout. The main crops on the farm were alfalfa and wheat. As a scout, most days were spent walking and writing recommendations for corn, wheat, and alfalfa. All right. Doug Kazire. Doug was born in Bridgeport, Nebraska, where he attended high school, being very active in FFA, sports, and the like. All Doug ever wanted to do was farm and feed cattle. I think most of us can probably relate to that. However, his dad said that the only way he would encourage Doug in a career in farming is that he had to attend at least 2 years of college, and if at that time he didn't find another career that interested him, he would help him start farming. So 2 years later, Doug started farming with his father. Today, Doug has a fair-sized farming cattle feeding operation in western Nebraska. Doug raises corn for grain and silage used in cattle feeding operation, and alfalfa targeting dairies on the Front Range of Colorado. Doug purchased his first cattle in the fall of 1965 and has fed cattle every day in the last 50 years. The operation is entirely staffed by Doug, his wife Lorraine, and their sons and grandsons. Doug and his family proudly still own and operate land that was homesteaded over 100 years ago by his great-grandfather. There is now great-grandchildren in Doug's life to carry on the tradition. Gerald Ziegler. Gerald received his degree from Northeastern Junior College. Before going to college, Ziegler and his wife raised sheep, followed by cattle and a cow-calf operation. After receiving his degree, Ziegler returned back to the San Luis Valley to become the third generation to help manage and operate Ziegler Farm and Ranch. He worked side by side with his father in expanding the home operation for over 30 years. Ziegler's biggest focus since college has been expanding the farming side of the operation. He currently manages 2,000 acres, which are a combination of alfalfa, triticale hay. Ziegler supplies 4 separate dairies throughout New Mexico with the expansion of the farm. Ziegler has also brought his children into the operation to help with the crop production as well as cattle production, to which they have expanded to approximately 400 cow-calf pairs. All right, help me welcome these guys. All right, so we're going to start with allowing each one of you to expand on the bio that I just read and tell a little bit more about your operation and how Alfalfa fits into that operation. You're going to draw straws. Who's going to have to go first? Let's start on this end. Yeah, you did.
Good morning. Brian England with Rural Organic Dairy. Alfalfa plays a large role in our operation as a hay source. We also graze it, and at times we'll chop it and then silo it and bag it. So, very large part of our operation.
Holly pretty much explained everything there is about me in my introduction here, so I can't really expand on that a whole lot. But, I hate to kind of give away my age, but as far as alfalfa, I remember my dad, well, back up, my grandfather, and my dad and his brothers stacking alfalfa when they would sweep it in out of the windrow and keep it on the overtop and was stacked in the hay stack. Kind of a humorous deal that as a little kid, I remember one of my uncles getting the whip on the hay stack. Of course, they would go up and they'd pack it with corners and all that. And it was so funny for me as a little kid. And this hay stack to me seemed like it was 100 foot in the air. But my uncle just come bailing off of that stack of hay because they threw it out sometimes. So, but that's alfalfa's been in my life since I was a little kid. I always remember my dad talking about back when it was mostly rented farms that if the rent on alfalfa wasn't so high, that would be the crop that would be the greatest because it would be the most profitable. Well, when I started farming myself, I found that out for myself. Well, anyway, I started raising alfalfa commercially, but yeah, and selling it to the local grinders and stuff like that. And I found out that the local grinders weren't doing me a lot of favors by giving me $20 a ton for my hay. So I decided I was going to expand and partner with the dairies, and that's when I started trying to raise the quality and do that. But anyway, that's pretty much my story about how I'm involved.
All right.
Thank you, Holly.
Yep.
Yes, sir. I grew up in western Nebraska, like Holly said, and then ended up moving to Wyoming in 1983, I guess it was, because I couldn't get enough farm ground in that Nebraska Panhandle area. My dad always said I was crazy to go up there. They didn't have any water up there, and they had a lot of rocks. Well, it's true. Some years we ended up with 9 days of water, and there are a lot of rocks in that Cleveland, Wyoming area. The one thing about Wheatland, though, is we can raise quality premium alfalfa. I used to raise a lot of sugar beets, and we kind of got away from the sugar beet deal and went more into the alfalfa cow type rotations. We have a cow-calf crop that we can sell every year. Plus, we raise premium alfalfa. Any alfalfa that does get rained on, we have a way to market it through our cows or our calves or sell to the feedlot that we have there. The one thing, I guess, that got me really started in the premium hay, we used to sell a lot into the dairies in Colorado. I started entering hay through the Wyoming Business Council in the Madison at the World Dairy Expo, and we ended up winning that 3 or 4 times because of the quality hay we can raise there. Wyoming does exceptionally well at that show because of the humidity and where we can put our alfalfa. And I got some connections back in Iowa going into the Amish. And at first, when they called me up, they wanted to know what size bale I had. And I said, I have 4x4 bales. Oh, we can't handle 4x4 bales. We want 3x3 bales. And I said, well, I'm kind of set up like 4x4 bales, and that's what I'd like to stay with rather than handling so many bales. Putting up about about 800 acres of alfalfa. And so they said, I'll ship you a load of 4x4, see how you get along with them. Well, they ended up borrowing their equipment from some Mennonite farmers so they could get the bales off, because they were pretty heavy. Third cutting bales weighed right at 2,000 pounds. Fourth cutting bales will weigh 2,250. And I said, I'll tell you what, I'll shorten the bales up and make them lighter for you if that'll help you. So I ended up shortening the bales up and I ended up shipping them to them. But anyway, they like the 4x4 bales now, and they wouldn't go back to the 3x3 bales same way because they'd have to handle a lot of them. But that market is an extremely good premium market. I know there's a lot of markets out there like that, and one way to do it is like to enter contest, get your name out there, visit with people, and that's one thing. That's how I got pretty established in sending alfalfa out of our area. I know there's a lot of alfalfa that does leave Wyoming and go to other areas. So.
I guess our situation is similar to yours. We have cows and the alfalfa and trucks, and all those do well. We have a main market for the states. The trucks give us an opportunity to provide good service to the areas and build a relationship, and hopefully when it is like it is now where it's a buyer's market, we have an opportunity to keep them paid for other people struggle if they're going through a more culture. Valley offers challenges with such a short season. We are able to raise fruit quality hay, bring on nature.
Okay. All right, we're going to start with who is the customer for your alfalfa forage produced on your operation, and how does that influence how you manage your alfalfa acreage?
So internal use for the dairy, so that is who we are producing for. So high quality is of utmost concern for us. So not going after yield at all, just trying to get that quality as high every cutting as possible.
Before you pass it on, talk a little bit about the organic thing.
Yeah, so organic produces its own set of challenges for sure. Weed control would probably be number one with quality. We've developed a few things that'll help us with that. We moved to all fall planting to help control the onset of weeds and help with that first year production. A good seeding rate to get started is our main combatant against weeds. We've also invested in a flamer. We've used it to some extent. Timing for that is very tough in the spring. It just seems like before you even get out there to get started flaming, everything's greening up, and you don't want to set that back and have problems there. So timely harvest also obviously is key, and maybe even harvesting before you would normally think to help with that weed control and get those weeds when they're as digestible as possible. Even at times we went in and topped weeds in an alfalfa field in the spring before we look at harvesting it.
Okay. Let me read it again. Who's the customer for your alfalfa, and how does that influence how you manage your alfalfa acreage?
The customer for my alfalfa is the dairy farmers. I have one dairy that I've delivered alfalfa to for the last 20 years. And probably 99% of the dairy hay that I produce goes to him. So obviously I've targeted that market, and I'm doing everything possible to produce the kind of quality alfalfa that the dairy like to produce. I mean, that's our main goal, to deliver a product that they need to want to operate.
Like I said, a lot of my hay is going east to Iowa. I do sell a lot of hay into the Colorado dairy market. And like, I have also shipped a lot of years down into Colorado. They're pretty particular on when you cut it, pre-bloom bud type stage, making sure you get it put up right. If you do get a rain on it, I guess you throw it back to the side for cow hay, because it just takes it down immediately. I guess it's very important. Right now, I use my smartphone a lot. So I'll look at the humidity, weather forecast. I've got 3 different weather apps on my phone. I check them when I get ready to cut and try to follow, see what I can find the best work for me in the window, get that hay put up. And then once we start, we just go after it, try to get it put up as good as we can. And then we also keep our hay in the building till we get it shipped, so try to keep it as good as we can. We used to try tarps, but tarps in the wind up in our area just blow off and spoil our hay because of the help. So.
We put our hay up, and we try to take a good balance between yield and quality. Darren told me about 5 years ago, they struggle with a neighbor, and we have all these things that's one thing. It doesn't matter where they go get the hay. They can put the hay up the wrong day, it'll still doesn't mess up the cattle. So that's what we shoot for. Quality and yield together works good stuff.
So along those lines, what are 2 or 3 key management things that help you achieve those goals and consistently produce high quality, high yielding alfalfa? Whoever. Back down this way. Yeah.
Okay. We do everything we can. We use soil sample every year. Monitor the field, see if we're gaining. Fertility is important. Timing is critical. Watching the weather and watching the plant, see what the fortune stages. We don't have a real weed problem, so we don't. I mean, when we do, it's usually a sushi. We clean that up with tractor. That's all.
Okay.
Probably similar the same way. I use Raptor too to clean up these seeds. I plant a real thick stand, usually 20, 22 pounds per acre, so and no cover crop. Most of my alfalfa is under center pivot, so you get usually a fairly good stand first year, and go with that.
So we're kind of focused right now on a lot of the new varieties and that kind of technology available to us as far as getting the quality of the we rely on my agronomist as far as percentage and weed control and all of that. If you ask me what I use as far as herbicide, I can't tell you. I totally trust my agronomist to make that call for me, and that's worked out very, very well for us. Try to keep updated on all the latest newest equipment and stuff that one of the things we're serving the office right now is the preserving with as we bale and age and just try to keep up with everything that's out there available and make it possible for us to try to age.
Yeah, so we just start the season by starting right there at pre-bud. We will ensile that first cutting to get it off quickly to allow us to get the water back on as fast as we can for that first cutting. That helps us get that cycle sped up so that we can hopefully stay on a true 28-day cutting cycle. We try not to let the weather mess with us too much and keep us from staying on that cycle, because every day you go past that, we just start losing more and more quality. So staying with the 28-day cutting cycle works well for us.
Okay, let's get a little bit more specific. Tell us about seeding rates, fertility. If you have challenges with salinity, what you do about that, and pest management.
Yes, we stick with that high seeding rate as well. We're right there between 20 to 22 pounds per acre. Being organic, fertility probably has its unique situation there. No commercial fertilizers. We use a lot of our own compost. We apply roughly, depending on the analysis, about 6 tons per acre each year. Also on the dairy side, we have the effluent that can be pumped to certain systems. We use that for fertility whenever it's available to us. salinity, obviously, with those inputs becomes a very large concern. We keep an eye on it. Obviously, we're soil sampling every fall and keeping an eye on salt levels and whatnot. With the sandier soils that we have around here in the Greeley area, salinity has not become a huge issue for us to date. For pest management, timely harvest again is going to be key to controlling that. Weevil and whatnot, we've tried some of the organic herbicides, not had real good success with any of that. So timely harvest, and once again I'll go back to that chopping that first cutting and trying to get as many of the weevil in the bag as possible. Definitely helps for the rest of the season.
I think we're kind of all on the same page as far as seeding rates. It used to be I try to cut corners and find a little less seed, and but it seems like it works out to spend the money from the start. Fertility, like I said a while ago, I rely on my agronomists. They do the soil sampling and apply fertilizer according to their recommendations. As far as pest control, the weevil has become a problem that never used to be a problem in my area anyway. And just whatever insecticides are available, that's what we're using. One of my big issues, which is probably drives most of us nuts, is rodent gophers and stuff like that. And that really, if you get that darn dirt doing gophers, that definitely affects your quality. And so that's just an ongoing process as well.
Yeah, I think pretty much the same way. We soil sample everything every year. We use commercial fertilizers, 1846 normal potash, and some zinc with it, a little bit of salt, but we don't have salt problems in our area. So most everything is pitted irrigated. Water being the limiting factor sometimes during the year, but we have both problems also. And as far as the pests, we try to cut early, that first cutting. If we can get that cut early and get those bugs kind of disturbed, we usually don't have a problem. If not, we will come in and air spray. We try to keep the bug edges down. I know University of Wyoming's been doing some tests in our area too on some natural selection process on the bugs, trying to see if there's a way to get some natural selection and controlling them. So hopefully we'll see some of that in the future also. Some of that research being done.
We also use commercial fertilizer, but we're starting to move towards some compost. We're doing what we can. We've got no trouble. So we're compost helping. I was disappointed when Alfalfa brought Bullseye. It was the only alfalfa that was not a host to Columbia root, not Minnesota, but they are going to start, I guess, when I'm still they're going to start with the new generation. And so I'm glad to hear that. On our seeding race, we used to plant 15 pounds and find seed from Martinez on who was tell me, you're not planting that. I thought, I heard a seed sale, get that seed sales up. But we did, we kicked it up to 22, and we did some trials with frost drilling, plant 15 pounds one way, 15 another. And it may be a little overkill, but it does. You only get one chance to get a good scent out probably at that first time. So it's well spent money to get your seed on.
I think we've done these events 4 times, and I think every single time the farmers have said, you only get one chance to get a good stand, and so it's worth it for the additional investment to do the seed print right. Okay, I'm going to open it up to questions. Are there, wave your hand if you have a question, and I'll try to repeat it so that everybody can hear. Come on, really? Okay, over here. So the question is, how do you market your alfalfa? What kind of tests do you do, knowing that there's some
Yeah, my alfalfa is marketed by RFB. I'd like Darius to use use RFQ, but a lot of them, you know, are still used to old school, use RFP. We do have a lot of problems, and in every dairy that I sell to requires a different test at a different location. And the problem I have, and I've tried separating, you hear all kinds of stories about people separating hay out, testing at different locations, and they will come back 50 points difference. And that's the problem that we need to address sometime in the future, is getting these places where we do send hay to get it tested, where it can be close to one another and not so far off. But yeah, everything right now, you know, if I go to Weld County Lab, a lot of those guys will test, it'll be lower than Ward. Ward will be quite a bit higher. If you go to Dairyland, it's quite a bit lower. If you go to Servantech, it's in there close to Ward, so just depending on what dairy and then how that hay's priced also. If they're paying $1 a point, $1.15 a point, and it all comes back to that test. And so it's hard, I guess, until we get, even in these new varieties coming out, low lignin. And there's not a test out there that's really across the board that these laboratories can use to make sure or see if that hay is going to perform in the animal like it should. And I know there's new tests that are actually going to use animals to do that testing. So hopefully in the future we'll have something that's more consistent. So when you do market hay, you can use a test that will work for everybody.
Anybody have anything else to add to that?
I have the luxury of, I market between 6,000 and 7,000 tons of dairy alfalfa a year. And I have the luxury of one dairy buys all that hay. And so I can do exactly what he wants me to do. We've always used the relative feed value as the multiplier for our market, or for our price. What's interesting is the last couple of years I've questioned the fact of using the RFQ. And my dairy says he wasn't interested in that. Well, finally this fall he changed nutrition, and now he wants everything RFQ. And I understand there's new technology coming that's going to be a lot more than what's seen, and I'm sure we'll be going that way as well.
One of the things on the program today, Courtney Duxbury is going to be talking about the TT and DFD tests. So that's one of the sessions this morning. Okay, question back here?
I have a question. I like using manure on my hay, and I know there's some dairies around where you can get liquid manure, whatever comes, comes out of the pond. Have you guys ever used that on either during the winter or on growing hay? You put that on without burning the hay.
So the question is about liquid manure and how, if anybody uses that and how they do that. Ryan, do you?
So we have not used liquid manure like a slurry on any of our alfalfa fields. We stick with the compost, the manure, and the effluent water. Any of the slurry we have does go to the open fields that are typically closer to the dairy than our alfalfa fields.
Anybody else? Okay, right here. Okay, so the question is, what criteria do you use? This is like the age-old question of an alfalfa producer, isn't it? When there's a storm coming and the alfalfas get ready or close, when do you put it? Go ahead and put it down, or what? How do you decide?
I guess as far as the way we do it, we let our hay dry down so we're baling with stem or no stem moisture period. It's all dew moisture or whatever. So if the hay has stem moisture in it, you'll have more of a risk of fire to try to put it up wet, what I've seen in the past. I've had some neighbors that lost some haystacks. Most of those were triticale or something like that they baled a little bit too wet, and those started on fire 2 or 3 years ago. We lost 2 or 3 stacks in our area. If my problem that we have, it gets too dry and we have to let it sit and wait till we get a dew on it. And because we have so many winds at night, we don't end up with dew. I do have inoculants on my balers where I can put preservative on. Both we do some little bales also, and we have saddle pig inoculant on that, and we have the liquid on the big baler. And I guess it just depends on watching the weather. And if you know what your market is, I've got some guys that like drier hay, so I can put up a little drier hay if you're using the TMR to mix it and feed it. If they're hand feeding, like the Amish, so they want the leaves attached, so there's no way they would even touch the drier hay. So I guess it's a hard call to make. It's one that, you know, you hope Mother Nature and the good Lord's looking at you, and you can get it put up the way you want to do it.
We tend to push it a little bit sometimes, especially with the storm comes. I'm fortunate to have a dairy that can feed some tobacco hay. Since the cows like it, we do fine on it. It's dangerous, it's risky, you burn it up. But sometimes you're better off. It's just every situation is different, every storm is different. Sometimes that storm stuff, it doesn't materialize. But if it does, and you bail a little early and it's just on that borderline, and it keeps, you're glad you did. Sometimes it pays off to push it. But it's every instance is different.
I guess the tool that I use in the situation you described is I start praying real hard.
It's a good one.
One of the things, I have the luxury where the working relationship I have with the dairy that buys my hay, and what I'm going to explain to you is happens fairly regularly. You can't do it in a very large quantity, but just this past summer, I had a field of hay that it just needed a few more hours to get to the exact perfect moisture to bale, and here comes the storm. So I went ahead and baled it at about 20% moisture. And that afternoon, it was on the truck headed to the mill. And of course, he knows that, and all him explain the situation to him. And he stacks it right by the feed barn, tests it immediately, and has the result back the next day. And he's able to, it works for me, he helps me out, and it's something that competed in this operation as well.
Yes, being internal, like Doug said there, we have that extreme luxury of being right on farm, baling wetter than you would ever dream of, and just shooting it straight to the dairy to be hopefully fed very quickly.
Okay, other questions?
About fertility, do you fertilize once a year? Do you fertilize in the fall, spring, or in between times?
He's asking about fertility and how they manage
And
that.
how often?
I usually fertilize mostly in the spring. I will come back and fertilize after the second cutting if it looks like I got the second cutting up fairly early, so I can get a third and a fourth, and we'll come back in side dress a little bit of dry on top of that. I haven't used foliar feeding. I know there's a lot of tests out there stating that there's some good results. I think that may be something in the future that our operation is going to look at if we get somebody that's qualified to fly it on or get it done at the right time. But I like doing it at least twice. Once this time of year when the ground's froze preferably, and then come back and right after that second cutting, try to run across it.
We put combos for dry on, depending on soil and sound, early in the year. And then we go through the season, if we see a field that needs, just put the little beauty, we'll put some liquid through the sprinkler, just see if I can get a seed for that way.
We would apply our compost manure in the spring. That would be the only application for dry product. And then if that system is set up for the effluent, that can be applied anytime throughout the season as needed.
Now, we're in the process right now of doing our spring fertilization, and then we will come back usually right after second cutting and put another application onto the field. And particularly, it seems like it's really beneficial on new seeding alfalfa. The first and second year to give it a little extra shot to the first.
On the back. I can't hardly hear you, but I think she asked, are there any particular weather conditions you're looking for when you're planting alfalfa? Is that right? Weather, yeah.
For us, we're in a real sandy soil. We try to make sure we wait. Our rotation crop is 50 days. So we'll plant that in the fall, take it off in June, and that puts us past the winter season. So we don't blow the alfalfa off. We don't have to get a rainy season that just helps us with that new season to get started. That's the way we do it.
I think it's critical that you have the water available if you're gonna plant it. If you look at the rain, if you're gonna, if it's dryland alfalfa, then you gotta look at something that you can keep it growing. I know, I custom plant quite a bit of alfalfa around the Loveland area, and we lost a whole pivot around it ready hay. A couple of years ago, I went in and planted it, I think it was in about the 15th of June. And they run the pivot around a couple times and shut off. I went to a rodeo that weekend and got up to 9,900 degrees. And I come back on Tuesday and try to start the pivot, and that alfalfa had already sprouted and died, lost that whole circle. So I think you do need to look at the weather. If it's real hot, you need to really pay attention to the water supply. Preferably, I like to plant between the 10th and 15th of May in our area, or we do a lot of fall seeding, which would be, the latter part of July, the first week of August, and try to get established in the fall, and then the next spring ready to go.
Yeah, we prefer fall seeding alfalfa, and I guess to be honest, I just assumed it was the drier the better. And then have the luxury of irrigating with the pivots, and that way I can control what kind of water I'm getting on it. Our soil is relatively sandy, and what I try to do is first time around just make it get enough moisture on to get it to germinate, and then just keep the sprinkler running just pretty fast to keep the soil wet on top to help with emergence and all of that, and that's been worked very well for us.
Yeah, so we would plant middle of August, very sandy soils as well, and with through the center pivot, really no concern as long as you have adequate water to keep that soil surface wet to get good establishment.
Okay. Over here.
One other question. I was back in Washington, D.C., and we were lobbying to get the insurance changed for spring seeded. I know there's some spring seeded insurances out there for new seeding, and we're trying to get it where you can plant it in the fall also. So through RMA, we're trying to get that changed. So if you do plant fall seeded alfalfa, we can get the coverage for you so that you can insure that crop. So we're still working on that also.
Okay. Over here.
How much per point are the Colorado dairies paying for hay? That's exactly. Well, repeat by how much are dairies paying for hay per point in this area?
How much are dairies paying per point in this area?
In our Loveland area, it's anywhere from $1 to $1.15 a point, depending on if you deliver the hay or they pick up the hay. It just depends on the, where the hay's at. And it also depends on where you have to send the test to, but it's $1 to $1.15 a point is the last hay that I've sold.
All right. Other questions? Right here.
Sort of technology you guys use as far as sprinklers, sound fueling, sort of inverters, things like that, hay drive through.
Okay, so he's asking about what kinds of technology they're using to get the hay dried sooner.
We have global problems, and so we went to a disc mower, which helps shed that dirt. And then we use a mass Ferguson double crimper, which we really like. It spreads the real nice, and we have cut at least a day off our drive time.
Anyway, I went to a rotary swather. We cut a day off ours too. We will rake that hay a couple days after it's cut, lay it out fairly wide. Steel conditioner, and I know we baled hay, 7 cutting hay in 4.5 to 5 days, and had it off the field. So that's cheap cutting hay.
Yeah, I recently went to the Heston swather with the twin conditioner, and that has worked very well for us. We're looking at this year going to convert that in part over to the technology that Circle C has with their conditioner to try to move that drying time, shorten that drying time up quite a bit. And then as well as that, this past year we went ahead and put the applicators on our baler to apply a knock and leave as well.
Yes, our custom guys use the Hestons with the twin conditioner as well. We leave the twin row as wide as possible so we're not driving on it when we're raking. Organically, we have not went to any kind of inoculant yet on our dry hay. It's something that we continue to possibly look at.
Another question? To use a nurse crop.
I've always looked at using nurse crop nuts a week with the alfalfa and you hurt your stand. I know when I grew up, my dad would always use those as nurse crop, but we never concentrated on selling a lot of hay back in those days. We cut it for our own cows. Anything, if you look at all the studies today, if you can go with straight alfalfa, then you'll get a way better stand. And anytime you put a nurse crop in it, you're hurting it from 10 to 15 to 20%, depending on how much nurse crop pressure you put on that alfalfa. That's what we noticed.
And I agree with that. If you can get your alfalfa planted early enough in the season, you still get one good cutting. You can still make a little money. Straight alfalfa is easier to sell.
Okay. Additional questions? Okay, talk a little bit about the Loveland technology and how you think it might play into your farm.
Yeah, I've been looking at low lignin for a couple years now. I think if we can get a low lignin alfalfa that we can take and go from a 4-cutting crop back to a 3-cutting crop, and go from a 26, 28 day to a 30, 34 day crop and still get the same kind of quality. If you figure out the run and the time that you go across that field to get that 4th cutting at 3/4 of a ton or a ton, you get a ton at the most, and you get 3 good cuttings and the quality be good enough to sell to dairies, the savings per acre, the way I figured it out, would generate somewhere between $150 and $180 per year savings, just by not having to go across that and getting the right tonnage off and being able to sell it. So I think in the future, this low lignin, if we can produce it and it works like we said it will, and we can get the laboratories to test it so the dairies know how to feed it and how to use it, I think there's great hopes in that in the future using that alfalfa.
We've actually got 2 circles of the high test 360 planted last year, and we couldn't quite get to it as quick as we wanted. It got a little bit of bloom in it. We harvested it, tested it, and it still tests 1.9. And the other thing is the dairies were really excited to see that we were progressing enough to try to do something like that. So you know that they're gonna, we took the hay down there, they put it in a special hay. They're gonna wait until summer when the cows start dropping off on up there. They're gonna give us a test. We're gonna find out what they think of it. The other thing I like about the high test, it gives you a larger harvest window. Everybody knows when the weather messes you up, it puts you late. You still put those tests up there. It's just way better.
I believe the accuracy of this testing is going to really help us a lot in with the particularly with the low Loveland, and now with the Delta beef quality, and just like I said here, as far as with me, in my operations, a lot of times where we had to shorten our days up between cutting, we're dealing with fifth cut, which I don't like to do. By October, my guys are tired of putting pay, they hate that fifth cutting. And so I think with the new technology, what we're going to hear about today is, I'm very interested in that, and I think it's going to be huge for the quality.
Loveland should definitely be a great fit for our needs, as long as organic concerns are met with that seed being a non-GMO, non-treated type scenario.
All right, one last chance for anyone to ask a question. Going once, going twice, okay. Well, I think, please help me thank these guys. It was wonderful of them to